Hello and welcome to another episode of JaivfromONM Discussion, and in this episode I am going to be discussing what is the Last of Us syndrome. And so, there are many great games in the world which have all been released across the many nations and have been developed by the companies all over Earth. As you know, one of the latest gaming blockbusters that was developed was Naughty Dog's The Last of Us, an amazing survival horror game that was released exclusively on the PlayStation 3. But the game has a disease. No, not the cordyceps virus that turned people into... Hang on, that's Half-Life.
Half-Life 3? Confirmed.
No, not the cordyceps virus that turned people into these horrible creatures, but the disease is something that I have named the Last of Us syndrome, and it can affect a number of games. But I hear you asking, what is this Last of Us syndrome and what does it do? Well people, I'm here to answer that. And so, The Last of Us syndrome is the name that I have given to a game which is so repetitive, so basic, so linear, and just damn right a chore to play, but somehow by the end of the game, the player is infected into liking it, perhaps even loving it. So why call it The Last of Us syndrome? Well, frankly because The Last of Us has terrible gameplay. It's horribly repetitive and you don't really get a feeling of progression in the gameplay. Yet by the ending of the game, it sits atop in my top 10 greatest video games that I have ever played. And the thing is, when I try to explain or even think about why I rate the game so highly, my mind can only think of negative opinions towards the game, such as the repetitiveness. But just so you know, I don't love this game the same way I love Sonic 2006. Sonic 2006 is a bad game that I love because it's so damn stupid and funny. The Last of Us is a game which is great, but suffers from horrendous gameplay issues, and is still regarded as a great game because of this syndrome. I guess it truly is one of those things that is incredibly hard to explain. I suppose the game just sort of has a connection between the player. By the end of Joel's quest, you kind of feel upset that the adventure was over. But enough about The Last of Us. You now know why the syndrome is called what it is. But why have I also got images of Batman and Luigi on the logo for the disease as well as The Last of Us? Well, you're right. They are also examples of games that suffer the disease, although I will say that neither of these games are as infected as badly as The Last of Us. So anyway, let's talk about Luigi first, because everyone knows that I'm a major Nintendo fanboy. I was literally jumping off the edge of my seat when Luigi's Mansion 2 was announced at E3 2011. When the picture of Luigi running from a ghost appeared from on screen, I screamed with excitement. And I got Luigi's Mansion 2 on my birthday this year, and well, I liked it. I really prefer the original for its open world approach and its exploration. With LM2, I disliked the way the mansions were split into levels. The level option kinda resulted in bad gameplay, which in turn led for me not to enjoy the game as much as I should have. But don't get me wrong, I love the game, it's definitely one of the best 3DS games out there at this moment in time. But I've had the game for almost 4 months now, and I'm still only on the secret mine, which is the 4th mansion of the 5. With the reason, the repetitivity puts me off. Luigi's Mansion 2 is another example of the Last of Us syndrome, but again, as I said before, it's not as badly as infected as I still love Luigi's Mansion 2. Now, on to Batman. I find the Arkham series as a whole very overrated. I mean, they're great games, but they are incredibly repetitive and the combat even gets boring after a while. So I've played and finished both of the Arkham games, and here's what I have to say about them. Arkham Asylum is no doubt the worst of the two, featuring incredibly boring gameplay that involves you just walking down a corridor, fighting villains and repeat. But once again, by the time I defeated Joker at the end of the game, I began, let me emphasize the word began for you guys, B-E-G-A-N, to like it. However, it was without a doubt not a 10 out of 10 game. Arkham City was a lot more fun, but a lot of the same. Again, indoor missions were usually very linear, and when we got to the enemy with a gun, the difficulty spiked. Furthermore, the game is terribly short, and I managed to complete the game and every side quest except for the Riddler trophies in just over 6 hours. And this is Arkham City, the open world exploration one. And any game which is shorter than 10 hours, in my opinion, is a short game. Now again, despite the monotonous gameplay, I enjoyed this game, and it was fun gliding through Arkham and then taking a steep nosedive into a criminal, and this is just another example of the Last of Us syndrome. So, there we have it, an explanation for the Last of Us syndrome and some of the examples of its infections. I'd like to apologise for the many medical puns that I have made in this video. And finally, I'd just like to say that I don't think the Last of Us syndrome causes a game to be bad, it just helps show an area for improvement within many games. And on that note, I hope you enjoyed this video and comment on what future discussion videos you'd like me to do. Thanks for watching and goodbye.